with other mothers or other parents in the line when I was dropping my kids off to school, and we would just start having a conversation, and the next thing you know, you're starting to form these little groups where our kids are at school. We go have a little, maybe a coffee or something along that line, but you're getting to build that relationship. And I can tell you that through the years, a lot of those relationships have really helped me in my business. I've received referrals from people that I met that like I said, the bleachers at the baseball game or whatever, because we were referred to when we had our web design company, many businesses or many individuals, they referred their companies or somebody from their company to us to build their website. And it was just having a conversation, but we never talked about business. We just, what do you do? And then just got to know each other and felt comfortable enough with each other to where we could refer each other. And that's kind of what happened this morning when we did our one-on-one with Brian, when we met him for breakfast, a gentleman that we met, like I said, at a networking meeting after hours at a chamber event. And we just basically found out just so much about him by asking questions, and found out he has lived here all his life, and the people he knows, the connections he knows. You should never, ever assume anything. And we brought that up in our conversation today, that if you're in a referral group or a leads club, and, your business is maybe, I'm just say in the financial or the banking industry, and you meet somebody that is into network marketing, so to speak, maybe maybe they're doing a health product or a makeup product, don't push those people away. Those are professional entrepreneurs that know people, and they're out networking all the time, and you don't even know who their neighbor may be.
That's right. And going through there, do I really care who introduces my next coaching client or my next branding client? It doesn't matter. The door's open. So if somebody, not necessarily who took one of my classes, but somebody that knows me through some other social organization goes, oh, I know Richard. You need to talk to him about branding. You need to talk to him about business growth, and put it together that way. So that's where the fun part is, because there's just a never-ending loop that's there when people happen, and people have that inside gut feeling of, this person's okay. This person's going to be good. They got a good aura, of good vibe around them.
Well, and we're just developing, I guess, mutually beneficial relationships with people that we either meet, as I say, at a business function or at an event. It could be a social. It doesn't matter. But when you start building those relationships, and I love how Jeffrey Gitomer starts in his book, again, the Little Black Book of Connections. It's all things being equal. People want to do business with their friends. All things being not quite so equal, people still want to do business with their friends.
That's an interesting paradigm to draw. They like you, you like them. You don't like them, they may not like you, but at the same time, business is about moving forward.
Yeah, it's about being equal. In other words, when you are in maybe the same circle, same association, you really want to try to do business, but maybe you're not in the same synergistic circle. People still want to do business with people they like, no interest.
Of course.
Yeah.
We meet somebody out and networking, not networking, at breakfast, lunch, or dinner, some meeting, my first subject is, hey, I just want to get to know you. You seem like a nice person. You seem like somebody that's interesting to talk to, and that's where the whole thing picks up from is do you have that urge that just says, okay, let's just carry this conversation beyond. Where are you from? Where have you lived? What jobs have you had? Where are things moving to? Where's your favorite place to take a vacation? All of these type of things that are there that are all part of the process of getting to know and like somebody.
Mm-hmm. Now we're talking about really, meeting people face to face and networking, again, at an event, an association meeting or chamber of commerce or whatever. And both these books, The Go-Giver and by Bob Berg, which was written in 2007, and then Jeffrey Gitomer's Little Black Book of Connections was written in 2006. Yes, we had the online arena. We had some, MySpace was there. LinkedIn was out, of course, already started. And that other site before LinkedIn, I think we mentioned it last week, Plaxo. So
Yep.
There was some type of networking online, but people really didn't think of networking like we do today. So how can we apply these lessons? They wrote these books as thought leaders way before we started the social networking. Mm-hmm. How can we take the lessons we learn in these books and start applying them to having social networking work for us? And is there a difference?
Well, that was my question to you. What's the difference between posting on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Google, and all the other ones that are out there, okay, and meeting somebody face to face? The networking side of it and the getting to know somebody side of it, there is no difference in my mind. You go to a networking event, you say hi, you may sense there's an opportunity either for business or friendship. Where do you go? Most of the time today, we don't pick up our smartphones and give them a call. We go look at Facebook. We go look at LinkedIn. We go look at Twitter. All of these places.
Learning more.
Where you have an opportunity to see who somebody is, or as we like to say, be known before you're needed in that whole process. But when you start looking at it, if it's going to be primarily business, obviously we're going to jump all over LinkedIn and see what's happening there. On those lines, you got Facebook, both for business and personal, and you need both sides. If you're making a personal friend, hey, what do they do for business? It'd be nice to know. Mm-hmm. Or if you have a business acquaintance, hey, what do they like to do in their spare time?
It really helps you learn more about others when you are meeting them. I like to, when I meet someone face to face, and then, find out which social network they're the most active on and connect with them there. Start having a more deeper conversation, because sometimes I don't get to a specific network meeting every, if it's an after hours, maybe I'm only there every other month. I don't necessarily get there every month because of so many other different, our schedule gets kind of crazy sometimes.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. But what I want to do is I don't want another month or, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks to go. And if we don't have time to do a schedule of what we call the one-on-one, and for those listeners that don't understand the one-on-one, it's basically just a meet and greet where you sit down and you're not going out to dinner or lunch or whatever. I mean, we met at a breakfast place today because Richard was hungry. So he got to have his eggs and eat and network too, right? But,
that's right.
But we actually just sat there over coffee and tea and just started again solidifying the relationship we started. Like I said, with Brian, we first met him. He came to one of our workshops. And then we met him again, he had his wife with him last week at a networking event that we were there at after hours. And from there, then we met today. So it was kind of the third time we were sitting together and just started sharing. And we learned so much about each other, about his four children, and and the hectic schedule he has this week with school ending and all the fun stuff. And we remember those days. But that's the type of things we spoke about. We started building again a relationship to be comfortable with him, and and he shared some fun experiences, and you shared back, and that type of thing, because you both are really focused on making sure that businesses are growing, and you both have solutions for that. So it could be a great collaboration now. That's another great thing when you're networking. You're not always networking to do business with each other. You're networking to see how you can collaborate, which is the topic of the Business Acceleration Summit, is collaborate with people you meet and take networking to a whole new level. And when you're online networking, social networking, I always like to make sure that I actually, we'll say LinkedIn, for example, when someone requests a connection with me on LinkedIn, and I want to make sure that when I connect with them, I start a conversation. I don't just click accept. I want to know a little bit about them. I go look at their profile. I find out how, maybe what kind of connections we have in common. I want to know a little bit more about what they do, maybe some of their expertises, and bring that into the conversation when you send a message back to them and say, hey, thanks for, appreciate you reaching out and connecting here on LinkedIn. Looking forward to getting to know more about you and networking with you here on LinkedIn. See that you're connected with so-and-so. How did you meet him? Or how'd you meet her? Or et cetera. Now you've put it back in their court, and then they can message back to you. And that's having a conversation online, and it could be someone local. It could be someone out of the area.
It could be somebody from any other country in the world.
Precisely.
But you mentioned an interesting point there, because I think there's a hang up in that process that goes on. Because a lot of people have that difficulty face-to-face or online of saying those words typed out or spoken. It's easy to go through Facebook and hit connect in LinkedIn, or jumped ahead of one, but with Facebook, like or friend or something along those lines. And it's easy to do that because you're not putting yourself at risk.
You're just connecting. Yeah, you're just
Yeah. So now I get to see some of their posts, or I get to see some of their blogs or anything else that they're putting up there. But the whole point is, in looking at it, it's a beginning. It's a beginning, and every relationship has a beginning.
You got that right. And you really want to learn how to just have a conversation with people, because it is hard at times when I know my very first time I went to a networking event with you, and it was a chamber event back in 98 when we first started our business. And, I was always used to sitting and working for someone else. Yes, I'm a very natural person. I did a lot of volunteer work in schools and was very easy to network with the people around me that way. But as far as in the business arena, I thought, oh my gosh, what do I say to them? I don't know their business. Not even thinking about it wasn't really that. But that's what you assume when you first go to a networking event. I got to talk about business. I only know what I know. I don't know about them, But when I started meeting people, and I just started, finding out, what are some of your interests, or, or they mention their kids. Well, what are they active in school? Or, what are their ages? What school do they go to? Those are just little things. And when you start talking in that fashion with people, it's so much easier to have a conversation than thinking, okay, I don't know anything about banking. I'm going to meet these bankers, whatever, or in the financial industry, or accountants, or whatever. The only I can tell accountants is that my father was one, and I worked for him for half a day, and he fired me because
we don't want to go there,
because I talked too much. I didn't let the staff work as well as he wanted it. I'm a talker. Okay, so I'm definitely.
And you still are today.
I'm definitely a social one, right? But anyway, it's just fun stuff like that, and that's what I find why I love social media, because you can have fun conversations like that there.
But your little story about you're talking too much in your father's accounting business and all of that type of scenarios. Those are the stories that let people connect. You have to be a little bit vulnerable. Not your deep down dirty laundry, okay? Just you got to be willing to let somebody in that first level. You got to open up and being able to say, well, hey, here's a story, about that. People love to hear about my story about how I got involved with aviation and laying out in my parents' front yards and watching the airplanes fly over and all these things. But those are vulnerabilities that allow people to see into our inner soul. Who are we? What are we passionate about? What do we care about? What are we willing to give our time for? What are we willing to embrace?
And that is so important. It's kind of like, mastering that art of mingling, you know.